Hello, everybody. How are you doing on this fine Sunday evening? It's time for FMTV Weekly. I'm Peter Brown. How's everybody doing tonight? I hope you're all doing well. Hope you had a great weekend, even though we're in that same old position of having to talk about another loss. But it is what it is. We'll get into it a little bit tonight. I'm leaning on you guys tonight in the chat and then on voicemail because I'm flying solo. Ed is in the process of moving. So, we're flying solo today. So it's just you and me. So I'm going to, look forward to reading your chats and being very interactive with you guys. So please do that. Before we go too far, where is my sponsor slide? Here you go. You guys know where to go. You don't need me to tell you where to go shopping, and that's at Caneswear. That's where you get all your South Florida soccer or South Florida sports needs. Caneswear is located in Davie, Florida, just south of 595 on University Drive. Mention FMTV. Do us a favor. You want to support us? Support them. All right, everybody. So how are we feeling? So I was watching the game, and I had one question as this game was unfolding, and it looked like the same old. And that's why I titled it, Was Phil the Scapegoat? Now, I know on this channel for a while, every thumbnail, every title has been something about firing Neville. And, but tonight, nothing changed. They fired Neville. Nothing changed. So let's get your thoughts on that. Why was he the scapegoat? I know some people kind of feel that he was. And some people obviously feel strongly that he was not and that the team is playing better. Same results, though. We had the same result. I know. New interim coach has only had like a day to coach the people. So there's a lot. I got a few thoughts on it, but before we go too far, let's say hi to everybody here in the chat. And let's start off with the first person I see here, and that's Bruno Panizzo. There's a series of unfortunate events. No excuses, though. The team must do better. That's right. Kata's in the house as well. Everybody's favorite instigator on the internet, Louis Rodriguez, is here. What's up, fellas? Richard Greenberg from Toronto. How's the weather? Oh, from Las Vegas. From hot Las Vegas. Uh-oh. Don't gamble all your money away, Richard. Be careful there. Jose Velasquez. We do keep on losing. Jay LaRosa is in the house. Hard to judge any game when you get red carded on minute 6. True. Tio Lewis is here. Chris Arjun, everybody's the best photographer in soccer business right there. Anthony Ornelas, and that's it for now. So if you haven't said hello, say hello, and we'll talk to you. So the reason I question is he the scapegoat? It's quite simple. Is that it's still the same players. And you can't change all the players. So I get it. And, we've talked about Phil getting fired here. I get it. He had to go, right? He had to go because you can't fire all the players and something needed to change. And so he was the obvious choice. But, I don't know if we should expect miracles from Javier Morales. Who is at least, with Javi, at least he has probably, a very good mind on that position that we're lacking because he was that kind of player. I think Javier Morales, is the kind of player that Inter Miami actually needs. When he was playing for Real Salt Lake, I think he is the kind of player that we need. He was great midfielder. I think, if he could still play, if he was young enough, I think he would be a great fit for this team. So, yeah, we got a red card, as Jay LaRosa had mentioned. Hard to judge any game when you get a red card in the 6th minute. Do you guys agree with that red? Right when I saw that tackle, I knew it was a red. I was happy when I saw that it was yellow until he went to the screen. No, when he comes to the screen, goes to the VAR television, it was gonna get a red card. Miller just a little slow to react. Louis Rodriguez, regardless of the loss, I loved the hustle and that we actually scored regardless of a man down. I'll tell you, that goal got the crowd roaring. It was loud in my section. It gave us something to cheer about. And so I'll say, to me, as far as the hustle goes, the only person I think really that showed more hustle in this game was Campana. I think everybody else was about the same. Kremoski, you might say he showed a lot of hustle, but he always does. He's this 18-year-old kid. He's always got hustle. I think Campana definitely showed maybe a little more of that old Campana hustle that I've always liked to see. Even if he didn't score in the past, he would at least drop back, defend, just be in the game. And I think he was a little bit more. But, it's one of those things, too. I don't think that's got really anything to do with Javier Morales being the coach. He hasn't had any time to make this team his team. And he's still the interim. So, what can he do how long will he have? It's like whenever you see a coach getting fired, you often find the players, reignited a little bit. It's like, we now realize maybe if they fire the coach, everybody's disposable, right? So, Cott is asking, is Ed still close to the airport? I don't know where he moved to exactly, but he's still in Miami. He just moved to a new place. Everybody's got to move sometime, and generally we do it on the weekend. So, all right. Richard Greenberg bringing up the messy mess. Can Inter Miami outbid that poor country of Saudi Arabia? So I think it's not about the money. At least, well, for Messi it might be. But, I don't think Inter Miami can compete with the money per se. Because, Saudi's got all the dough. But I think the real question is, does Messi's family want to live in Saudi Arabia or Miami? Women's rights, they're not always very, free in Saudi Arabia. I don't know how it is exactly in where he will land, if he is to land there, but I don't know. Jay LaRosa is saying, nah, Phil was simply terrible. He had no idea what to do. You got red carded in minute 6, so we can't see what the actual game plan was. So my biggest pet peeve with Phil was, the defensive substitutions when we need an offensive attack because we're down, right? So we're down a goal, and then he puts in 3 defenders. That was that game against maybe Orlando, I think. And then always putting in his son, right? And Son wasn't even on the roster. I wondered, what does this mean for little Neville? Does little Neville have a spot on this club? Is he good enough? Having that conversation with a few people this weekend, the thought was, no, he should still be an Inter Miami 2 player. He would still be a 2 player if he was not coach's son. Louis Rodriguez saying, got to give Javi time. He's only been with the team only for the past 48 hours. That's not enough. Yeah, I agree. He's been with the team. He was an assistant coach. So it isn't a big change other than, he gets now put his thoughts into play a little bit more instead of following somebody else's. But I do wonder if Bruno's right here in saying it was evident the team was giving up on Phil this season. Now, it's interesting, though, when we talk about giving up on Phil, and this was brought up in press conference with Chris Henderson, one of the reporters, not sure who it was, asked the question. Basically, around this time last year, we had a very similar record. We're a little bit worse this time this year, but we're actually better in the fact that we've got a fighting chance for a trophy in the Open Cup. So, but by record, we're just a hair worse than we were last year. A hair worse, or flip it, a hair better, and they gave Phil a contract renewal. And now they fire him. So how much is the Phil firing because of the supporters voicing their opinion? Does the club really listen that quickly to its supporters? Because we were actually having our best year as far as crowds. We were getting a solid 17,000, I think, most games. I think this last game was 15, although it felt a lot less. The supporter section looking pretty anemic lately. People saying they're giving up on the club. How much did all that weigh into the decision? And speaking of the decision, man, I'm on tangents tonight, folks. Who delivered the news to Phil? Do you think it was Beckham or was it Jorge? I don't think I've seen anywhere where they actually have admitted to who did the firing. Obviously, they're both involved. Obviously, they're partners, and so Beckham and Jorge are going to agree on when it's time and when what to do. But did Beckham get on a Zoom call and say, "Sorry, buddy, love you, your family, you'll always be family, but you got to go"? Or is it Jorge Mas? Or was it neither, and they had Chris Henderson do it? Make Chris Henderson do the dirty job, because technically that's kind of his job. Interesting. I'm just curious and be a fly on the wall there. Because if I'm Neville and I'm in that room, I'm saying to some extent, what did you expect me to do? You didn't give me a number 10. You were one of the lowest payroll teams this year, where in the previous years we were one of the highest, but now one of the lowest, because, not the bottom, but like bottom half. And that's because we're banking all this money to try to get Messi and Busquets. And I don't even think it's less about Messi, because Messi's only going to cost us what? I think it's $625 or $650 on the salary cap. The rest is not salary cap money. And when I talk about payroll, we're talking about salary cap money. We're talking about GAM and TAM and all that kind of stuff. They're banking, in my opinion, all that money so that they could bring in a player like Busquets also and not give him a DP. So you bank a bunch of GAM money and you buy down his contract. You then also buy down Gregory's contract, so he's not a DP either. And so anyways, to some extent, Phil was handicapped, the fact that he didn't have, a creative midfielder. They didn't re-sign Pozuelo when they should have. And so to some extent, he was handicapped. Now, I know you're all going to say he still deserved to go because of the substitutions that he made and things like that. And I can't argue that, right? Those are bad subs. But I have a little sympathy for the man in that I think he was handcuffed to some extent. All right. We are going to do something here. I'm going to move this up here. And while I'm going to go to a voicemail.
It's time for your voicemail. Hello?
What's up, mi gente? It's your boy Yankee Yank. First off, I got to air a grievance. What is it with people not being able to mention Franco Panizo's name? Dude approaches his job. He does his job in a professional way. He's not trying to get into anybody's feelings. He's just doing his gig. It was interesting seeing that story covered, whether it would be in the UK, whether it would be someplace else globally or someplace else in the States. One of the only places that gave him props was Futbol Americas with Hurt Gomez and Cesar Salazar. Okay, now that I've addressed the grievance, Coach Killers, you and I were exchanging text messages when everything went down. What a week it's been for your club. You guys threw a Molotov cocktail onto the fire pit and watched the whole burn down around Neville. Obviously, you guys have had the results that haven't been what you would have hoped to have had. Last night, you played my DC United. You guys fought really valiantly, playing a man down. That was a straight red. There's no two ways about it in my mind. And I'm tired of players, my players, anybody's players, swarming the referee. So I guess that's my second grievance. In closing, your club is basically looking like the deadbeat dad not paying his child support. People that live in glass houses should not throw stones. We still have a dude who slandered one of your players racially who's still playing on our team, who most of us don't even cheer for, Taxi Punta. So I admit, we got a lot of holes in our cathedral windows. But y'all not paying your bills, maybe we're going to have to create another stop for Tri-Rail called Yankee Town that'll be a little bit closer to your stadium, because y'all losing the parking lot. Telenovela. You couldn't write this stuff. Soap opera straight up. Holler at you later, players.
All right, thanks, Yankee boy. So, yes, we lost a parking lot and a coach. That's right. Nobody says it better than what is it? Who's that? In Sync? Oops. I hit the wrong. Anyways. Oh, here's another one for you guys. For those that want to celebrate, Bill's getting fired. Na, hey, goodbye. Richard Greenberg says, I was surprised that Jason Christ didn't get the manager's job. I agree. Oh, going back to Yankees comments, Coach Killers. That's a little rough. Coach Killers. And then also so let's talk a little bit about that yellow lot. So a lot was made out of this. A lot was made out of a lot. If you didn't go to the game or you didn't notice, the yellow lot was blocked off. For the most part, the gates were closed. There was one gate open, and that one gate that was open had a Fort Lauderdale city car, SUV, parked there to ensure that nobody tried to get into the yellow lot. Yellow lot is that gravel lot. It's huge. That lot is the lot that Inter Miami promised, part of their contract, to build a park. That park was supposed to have opened, I think, if I remember correctly, over a year ago. So it's questionable. Why haven't they built the park? So part of it is Inter Miami says, we had an agreement, a handshake agreement, which that's stupid. A handshake agreement that the city would pay Inter Miami back for the demolition of the old buildings there, the baseball stadium and the old Lockhart. That apparently is around $6 million, and would forgive some sort of taxes or something like that. Apparently, that was a handshake deal. I would think that these guys, billionaires, right? the Mosses, billionaires. Marcelo Claure was part of this at that time too. Billionaires in business would know better, would have good enough lawyers to know better than to sign off on some handshake deal and expect somebody to honor said handshake deal. Because the person that they made that handshake deal with is no longer working in that position. You got somebody new there, and that new person goes, I don't know what you're saying. It's not in the contract. So now you've got Inter Miami saying, you owe us money. The city saying, no, you owe us about $1.4 million, something like that. And they can't come to an agreement. Oh, and by the way, you haven't built us the park. And the city has the rights to build the park themselves and then charge Inter Miami that said money. Now, there's an argument that even the mayor has said, we as a city can't decide what to do in that land. We don't know what kind of park we want. There's been talk about a tennis academy. There's been talk about just a nice walkable park and, things like that. So there's been a lot of disagreements on what to do with the land. And so that's part of the reason maybe it was delayed. But so at the end of the day, they're arguing about money. And I know that I've seen some people saying, you guys are billionaires, just pay the city. They didn't become billionaires from just throwing out millions of dollars for no reason. And they obviously feel that they are in the right. City feels like they're in the right. So the courts will have to decide. I imagine this may get dragged out somehow. They're not going to kick Inter Miami out of the stadium, so they're not going to go anywhere. But so you couldn't park at the yellow lot, and a lot of us were concerned. But Inter Miami did create some new lots, or at least new to me. I don't know if they were using them in the past. Brown and purple. I parked in brown because I should. It's my last name. Brown is basically across the street, Commercial Boulevard, right across the street from the stadium. So it's a little bit of a longer walk, but it's not bad at all. I'll tell you, it was easy. I got into the stadium an hour before, which I would recommend. Anybody that has a hard time getting into the stadium because of traffic and things like that, and you're getting to the stadium 15, 20 minutes before, that's on you. Get there early. Get there early, enjoy a beverage, hang out with your buddies, soak up the atmosphere, have some fun. Go hang out with the supporters at their barbecues or whatever they might be doing. But, get there early. Get there about an hour before. You'll have no problem with traffic. Got into the brown lot. No problem. Easy to park. It's an actual parking lot, which is like, some office building parking lot, something like that. Easy to get out as well, because I booked it out of there pretty quick. Usually I really leave the stadium very kind of slowly and casually because I know that there's traffic, so why rush? Well, this one I wanted to get out quick. I took my daughter. I promised her I'd take her to someplace to eat afterwards, so we want to get out before things closed, right? No problem. It was easy getting out. So I don't really have an issue. The team, may get, thrown under the bus a little bit for this yellow lot debacle, but they came up with another solution. You got brown and purple, and there's always been the orange lot. So sorry about that, guys. So they did resolve the parking issue to some extent. Bruno bringing up Ian Frey. Frey has been getting better with each passing game. So glad to see him get into form. He's something special. It's one of my boys there, Coconut Creek. Coconut Creek, resident. His family's here in Coconut Creek. Some people, I know some people that coached his sister, I think it is. So he's known in this community here. So good on him, a local kid. Getting a goal, and yeah, he is looking more and more confident, looking better and better in that midfield. Kata saying, Peter, I called Morales getting the gig last week. Yes, I remember that. I was very, very confident that Jason Kreis would get the role whenever they chose to fire Neville. But I guess maybe they got rid of Christ because maybe his philosophy is too similar, too much aligned with Neville. I don't know. I just figured it made sense. He's got MLS coaching experience, coached 3 teams, one successful, won an MLS Cup in 2009, I think it is. Was kind of a mess in his 2 other clubs. So, but he has head coaching experience. It makes sense. But I'm just going to go out guess that he is too similar maybe to Neville. That's I don't know. Kata also believes that Harvey should be back to MLS Next Pro, probably. Jay LaRosa thinks he only played because Daddy was his coach. Right. I mean, we all kind of felt that way for sure. It is a weird situation, the father-son coaching situation. Toronto's having their issues with it. But in that case, you can't sit there and say, it's a similar. There's no nepotism per se there because Michael Bradley is an accomplished player. He was there first, but it is causing a different set of issues. Kata also feels that Javi is not going to be the head coach for long. I guess it all depends. I mean, I think we all kind of feel that the popular opinion is that Tata Martino or Martinez, I always get his last name mixed up, should be the number one candidate and is the number one candidate. He checks off the boxes. Like, here's the thing: is I make this argument that this ownership group only will look for international type coaches, European, South American, what have you. I don't think, for example, Jim Curtin, great coach in Philadelphia. I don't think if he was available, I don't think Inter Miami would go for him, even though he's a proven winner. And, he's not the kind of coach that Inter Miami would go after because he's not coached in Europe. He's not coached in South America. They have this eyes on global. So they want a global coach when you could find somebody, an assistant coach that knows MLS that could get that opportunity. Look what Pat Noonan has done in FC Cincinnati. He's turned that club around. That's somebody that actually coached under Jim Curtin, played in MLS with the New England Revolution, had a great career. But those aren't the kind of guys that Inter Miami, I think, would ever look at. They're looking at somebody that's global. Well, Tata does check those boxes off. And he also appeases somebody like me who wants a coach that has MLS experience. I think that's important. Is it the most important thing? Maybe not, but I think it's important. Well, Tata does check that box. He's global. He's coached Messi. He's coached in MLS, had success, won a championship. Coached Joseph Martinez. Maybe you can unlock Martinez, who right now Joseph Martinez looks dead in the water. He is just a waste of time out on that field. Tell me I'm wrong in the chat if you disagree. Chris Arjun agrees that Frey is a definite starter, but not now. He's just coming off 2 serious ACL injuries. Yeah, but I would say now is the opportunity. And I hear and I see a little bit in the chat people kind of talking about the youth. Like, hey, I want to play the youth and this and that. And even Neville got congratulated for playing the youth. He didn't have a choice. That's all that's available. At one point in the game, I look over and we see really nobody's warming up. It's because there aren't really anybody. There's not many people left. I mean, there's a couple players. I mean, Borgelin, they could have brought in, they didn't. But nobody was training. Nobody was warming up because we have no choice but to play the youth. Pizarro should be coming back soon. When I ran into him a week ago, he said he would be ready in a week. Now, that's his opinion. Players always want to play. and it's up to the coaching staff to tell them you're not quite ready, or the medical staff to tell them you're not quite ready. And that's exactly what Cotto's asking. Is Pizzi ever playing for the club again? He lied to you, Peter. I don't know. I think it's exactly what I just said. That players always say they're ready, whether they really are ready. Jay LaRosa is still piling on to Phil Neville, 2.5 years, and still have no game plan. The players know naturally. Speaking of game plan, so little story. I was, hang on. Got to always pause for a compliment. Peter, the jersey looks great on you. Thank you, sir. I don't wear the white one that often because, to be honest, it's got a coffee stain somewhere on it. But on the show, you can't see it. So good to see you back, Judge. I haven't seen you in a little while. So anyways, about that game plan. So I went to the barber shop yesterday before the game. And I'm wearing a Inter Miami t-shirt because I'm pretty much always wearing Inter Miami gear. I am a walking billboard for this team. And while I'm waiting for my barber to be available, guy sits down next to me. He's also waiting. He's wearing an Inter Miami training jersey. I look at him and I go, "Hey, you going to the game tonight?" He's like, maybe. He told me he's a U19, Inter Miami U19 coach. So he's coaching the academy of kids. And if the funny thing is the guy seemed to be almost like it's just a job. He wasn't nearly as passionate about this club as, say, I am. It came across to this guy it's just kind of a job. Like, he wasn't really looking to talk about Inter Miami. I gave him no choice. I decided to talk Inter Miami with this stranger, and whether he liked it or not. So we did talk, and I asked him. I said, he's not going to know anything about the first team. He's an academy coach, all that stuff. So I asked him. I said, is the Phil firing? Does it affect the academy in any way? Because the idea behind having the academy and the first team all in one building, all playing on the same fields, is that you have one philosophy from top to bottom to top. What you're teaching your starting first team is the same philosophy that you're teaching your 10-year-olds, 12, 19, what have you. So that when a player graduates from the academy and goes into the first team, it's a smooth transition because they're playing within the same coaching philosophy. Obviously, things may change because you have different players, what have you, but it should always be the same philosophy. So I asked him, with Phil getting fired, is there ripples felt in, say, the U19? He said no. He said, really, there was no philosophy being passed along top to bottom. That he felt, and I'm not going to mention the guy's name, he felt that Phil Neville really didn't have a philosophy, going back to what Jay LaRosa is saying, and that it was just plug in the players that I have and let's see what we can do. So there apparently was really little effect felt through the academy. Now, of course, you wouldn't feel it immediately, but still, I'm just curious if what we're teaching from the top is still being taught at the bottom. And apparently, not really. I also asked him, I said, what we're really missing is that number 10. Do we have a number 10, a future number 10 in the U19s? Like, we all want Messi to be here to be that creative midfielder, but he could play in many different positions in the attack. He'll be all over the field. He'll score goals. He'll assist. He'll do whatever if we get him. But do we have the guy coming in behind that maybe 3 years from now, do we have that guy? He said, no. Not now. No. Now, the academy's still young, but apparently we do not have, the next Pozuelo, if you will. And Kata says the team never had any ideas unless Pozuelo played. So it's less about the coach and more about the player. For you, Louie. Just for you. Baldwin 4 checking in saying, Javier Morales had a sad first day. And that he thinks that they wanted to go full on Argentine staff. I mean, that might be part of the reason they got rid of Christ. But I at least I appreciate the fact. So I know that some of you guys, there's been chat on social media that we want a Spanish speaking coach. And as a non-Spanish speaking person, I don't want a coach that only speaks Spanish. I do think that was a problem with our first coach. He needs to be able to communicate in both languages. And Javier Morales does check off that box. Now, we all know he's a temporary, and I saw some, like Chris Arjun was saying, he'd have to win like every game for the rest of the season in order to get that job. Pretty much. I mean, pretty close to it. So yeah, he's not going to be the long-time coach, but he speaks both languages. So he had the press conference, his first press conference. I didn't watch the one after the game yet, but he had his press conference, and he answered questions in Spanish. He answered questions in English. It was great. That way he can communicate with all the players. I mean, for the most part. I mean, we got a Frenchie in there, but I assume he might speak English. I don't know. Baldwin is saying, if the contract was verbal, how does the city know what that Inter needs to build the park? That was in the contract. Apparently, the part of the contract that was a handshake, it was a verbal, was this whole fees that the city's asking for and the demolition cost that Inter Miami is asking for. That was the handshake deal. And I'm behind on a lot of these questions because I go on my own little tangents. So bear with me. Bruno is saying, you didn't take the shuttle? Nah, I just hoofed it across the street. I think it would have taken me longer to sit and wait for them to fill up the shuttle than to go across, wait on the traffic lights, than for me to just walk across this big grass field where I parked right across this big grass field, walk right across it. Police are blocking traffic. Nice and easy. Walked into the stadium. Very, very easy. Not a problem at all. It'll suck when it's raining. When it's raining, I'll take the shuttle. But I do appreciate that the team did provide a shuttle for those people that did not want to walk. I'm always trying to get my my steps in. I've got to burn 470 calories a day, according to my watch. And I'm close to finishing it off today. I might have to go for a little walk after this. But so that walk across the street did me well. Baldwin is not a fan of Martinez right now. All right, well. But he does agree, Javier Morales is the player that we need. Imagine if we had Javier Morales. He was good. Bruno does like the brown and orange lots way better than the gravel. I'll tell you, that gravel lot wasn't so much gravel on the Wednesday night game. It was straight up mud. And I was actually concerned at one point. It's like, man, my car going to get stuck in this? It was straight up mud because we were still allowed to park there on the weekend. God is asking, I wonder if Frey lives by the Walmart. I don't know where he. You know what? He might live close to his family, at least might live close to me because he grew up playing at Sable Pines Park, which is walking distance from my house. So there you go. A new Weissman checking in saying, I'm late to this, but I said from day one that he's not the right manager. They didn't give Alonso time in a pandemic year. Yeah, Alonso didn't have time. I'll agree. But Alonso made a lot of those boneheaded substitutions as well. His tended to be, you waited way too long to make a substitution. And I think the locker room was a problem with, as far as language. I think he did have an issue communicating with the American players. So they should have given him more time. Yeah. And more than anything is at least the team learned their lesson and they did a better job of firing their coach. It was a debacle with Alonso. It got leaked out. He thought he was fired. He starts packing up his stuff, and then they're like, "Oh no, you're not fired." And then he was fired. It was really a mess. But as far as Neville not being the right manager, I don't think anybody thought he was the right manager from day one. I think we all questioned. I know we did here. We questioned, does he have the resume? And the answer is no. He had never coached a men's professional club, never head coached a men's professional club. I mean, he's coached the women national team. He's assistant coached in several big clubs, but he had never been the man. And so, yeah, he got the friendship deal. Will David make that same mistake twice? I don't think so. I hope not. Bruno says, I hope we go hire an experienced coach with many trophies in his cabinet. I agree. Oh, Louie, are you a cook and a creaker as well? Nice. Cook and a Creek's a very nice area. I like it. Hey, no TFC talk here, please. Richard Greenberg says, I have to live that disaster every day. So why are you in Vegas, to gamble your life away? All right, so let's scroll down a little bit. Oh, Jay LaRosa is saying, I hate the white jerseys when they get a small stain. Hard to get off. I have a small, tiny stain on my white one. Although no one can see it, it kills me. That's where I'm at, Jay. That's where I'm at. I can't even find it anymore. What is here? Oh, there it is. There's the stain right down there. It's from drinking coffee, probably on this show, just like I'm doing right now. That's probably how that did happen. That cool hat looks good with that jersey, Peter. One goal says, "Thank you, ma'am." See, I know how to put it together. I know how to put it together. What else you guys saying? Louis feels that Martinez seems below performance, but his frustration was with how the team couldn't connect with him. No, we don't have a player that can do those connections. But he is slow as molasses. Now, I mean, we bitched and moaned about, at least my wife did, about Higuain in the last couple years because he was slow. But then we got that player that could unlock his potential. And it could be the same thing for Martinez. It might be only that we're missing that player to unlock his potential. But I've noticed that Joseph Martinez likes to play a little bit deep and then run into the play, right? And he's slow. He can't do it. He doesn't have the speed to do it. Baldwin says, if Morales is 500, he 100% deserves a job. I don't think he's going to get it. Hey, we got a new voicemail, so let's go to it.
It's time for your voicemail.
Hello?
Hey, Peter flying solo today and all the great fans. Shout out to the room and love you guys. I'm running on a little Latin time here. It's Italia, one world, one goal. I just want to compliment Mr. Moss on the Moss brothers for making this decision rapidly. It's, honestly, I would have loved to have seen, something happen the end of last year, but since this year was, a repeat of sort of what happened last year. This really was the only decision they could make, with the fans and the media and the press, latching onto the story, going everywhere. So, the less said, the better. We sweep this under the rug. We move forward. Well, not necessarily sweep it under the rug, but we just put it behind us, move forward. Javi is actually a great choice if you know the history of MLS. I'm not going to go into that story, but, and some of the other, like you're talking about the academy guy, a lot of people that were brought in originally, that our dear friend Cursa Tubby hired, they were all Orlando people, and some of them were from some of the other teams. So, they may still really be, believe it or not, active in their hearts for another team that they just ended up here. So, I hope slowly we get either more of our, strikers guys, Miami FC guys, Miami Fusion guys, people like Duff Cassard. Love to see him involved in our academy. That would, he's done great things with Dallas, Real Salt Lake. And, so I think it's just, it's an awkward time, but I think Javi is a good choice because he speaks Spanish. As I said, it's helpful for the current team we have. He's also Argentine, which the fan group, one of them, Vice City, and our original Aficionados, shout out, a lot of them were Argentine, and at least I think Javi actually was a number 10 in his day. He was an excellent player. So let's see what he can do temporarily. And yeah, Beckham was over there at the game for Manchester City versus United. So, I know he was scouting and talking to people for player and coaching and et cetera, et cetera. We've always had this rumor swirling for years about these big name players, big name coaches. I think all of us just want stability. So let's believe in Chris Henderson, and I think within a few years, we're not going to be cellar dwellers. Love you guys. Love the show. Have a great week.
Thank you, One World, One Goal. And hey, One World, you kept thinking that they would put Neville upstairs. They'd move him upstairs. Told you. They just straight up fire him. I know you're trying to be nice, but and here's the thing. I feel bad, bagging on Neville so much, but he seems like just a genuine guy. And I hear he wants to stay in South Florida. I don't know what he'll do for work. Probably doesn't really need to work. Had a good, solid career. He's got enough money in the bank, I'm sure. But what I've heard is that his family likes it here. His daughter is in school. He had mentioned in one of the press conferences that she went to prom this year. And so from what I hear, his family wants to stay. So he's looking to potentially stay in South Florida. I don't know, again, what he would do, but he may stay here. I saw some comments in here about... Here, Baldwin's asking, do you think Miami will make any changes besides try to get Messi this summer? I think everything is hinging on what Messi says in the coming weeks. We got to know something soon. He's got to make a decision soon. Right now, it seems like he's got two opportunities. Sounds like the Barcelona thing is probably not going to happen. It's Saudi Arabia or Inter Miami is what it sounds like. So it's up to him. I don't think there's any other thoughts besides him and Busquets. Messi and Busquets. That's their number one thoughts. And I've also, I've said constantly here that they better have a plan B. I've heard there is no plan B. They're all in on Messi. If they don't get Messi, I think they're just giving up on the year. They'll just maybe, you could trade from within the league, get somebody from within the league, just a stopgap, just to show that you're sort of trying. I don't know. But and then recalibrate for next 2024. So I don't expect to see many changes. Bruno feels like he would trade Yedlin, John, and Martinez this summer window. I'd like Yedlin. Yedlin gives 1,000% out there running. He runs up and down that side so much. I like Yedlin. I would not trade him. Jean and Martinez can go. I agree. A new Weissman says, get Shava from AFC instead of Bruno was also mentioned, get Zlatan, who's retired, to unretire. Zava was a Zlatan ripoff, which is funny. Has everybody watched all of Ted Lasso? It's done. Ted Lasso's done. The rumor is there will be spinoffs, so it could continue with Kent. What's his name? I forgot his name. The bearded dude that the show could continue with him as a coach, which But that was a great series. I hope everybody enjoyed that and saw it to the end. If you don't have Apple TV, the series is done. So pay for like 1 month of Apple TV, which is, I do this kind of thing all the time. I'll pay for a service for 1 month, turn it off. So you pay your $10, watch 3 seasons of Crush It and watch 3 seasons and be happy. It's a great show. It ended really, really great. It was a real tear jerker a bit. Louis feels like Martinez looked a little overweight on the heavy side. That could be why he's slow in pace. Yeah, and Higuain had that same problem. Jay Vasquez says, new coach doesn't matter. You can see that the current group of players, save for 3 or 4, are not in it to compete this season. Very unlikely this group will make any push for the playoffs. Well, here's the thing, though. We're not that far back from the playoffs. We're really, really not that far back. If I look at the thing here, we have we have 15 points. 6 more points, 2 winning games, and we're in 9th place, right? We're at least that's where Charlotte is right now. Charlotte has here, let's do this. Charlotte has 21 points currently, and we're down there at the bottom. We're not that far back. We have a shot still making the playoffs. They've made it pretty darn easy to get in the playoffs this year. We have a shot to get in the playoffs. So even with these players, we potentially could still make the playoffs. But don't forget, guys, we're still in this Open Cup. This Wednesday we play Legion. Where are they from? Birmingham Legion, I think is what they're called. Traveling up to Birmingham. And, we got a real shot to actually get a piece of silverware. Now, of course, once potentially, assuming we beat this USL club, assuming that, we then are going to move on to the next round. And eventually we're going to be playing much tougher MLS clubs. But we beat Nashville in an MLS club to get there. So there's a chance of winning something this year, and which could make this year feel a lot better, when it's just been a horrible year. One World, One Goal saying Phil Neville can go on TV in the USA. Would be great for that. Yeah, probably. It makes sense. That's what his brother does, right? Become a pundit. But if he wants to live in South Florida, I guess he could do it locally as long as he's got a green screen, right? That's easy to do. No plan B. That's what I hear. Jay La Rosa does not agree with me. He says Yedlin gets schooled by average forwards and strikers on his side a lot, and it's kind of sad. He does go up, so I would have him as a winger and not so much as a lateral defender. Okay, I agree. The problem is he does get caught being too forward, and he comes back. He's fast, but he still gets caught being up top a little bit too much. Baldwin saying, stop spoiling Ted Lasso. I don't know. Did I say anything that's a spoiler? I don't think I did. Maybe. It's over, though. I mean, it's over. Everybody, everybody knew it was only going to be 3 seasons because the actor said that was the case. Guyver saying, excuse my ignorance. Would it be bad to say that they're too much focused on trying to obtain Messi? It's not a bad thing to say. I mean, a lot of people would say forget Messi and just put together a good quality squad. We don't need the star. But I've always felt that Miami, South Florida needs some star power. You can't put just kind of a workman team like a Philadelphia team in Miami. I mean, you can, but and you could probably fill that stadium. But if you want to go any bigger, if you want to expand your fan base much more, South Florida needs that name, I think. And so going after a big name, I think I've always felt that we needed one or two big names and the rest of a solid squad, right? Would I personally be happy with a Philadelphia type of just hardworking MLS quality players and win? Yeah, I'd be okay with that. But I think for marketing and all that stuff, I think they really do feel that, and I think I would agree that to get your fan that's not coming out to the games because they're Euro snobs or South American snobs and just don't want to give MLS a chance, they will give a chance if Messi comes because they're going to want to see Messi. So, but yeah, I think this whole thing with Messi, I've said it over and over again. We're being held hostage because we can't do anything. And I want to yell at Chris Henderson, right, for not renewing Pozuelo, for not filling that number 10. But it's also not quite his fault either if ownership is telling him, pause, hold, we want to get Messi. And I heard that Moss went to the man, I got something in my chest. Moss went to the supporters, met with them before I think the firing became public, or right after, something like that, and said they knew the season would be rough. They knew it was going to be tough. They just didn't think it was going to be this bad. They knew that they were in for a tough season because they're putting all their eggs in that messy basket. And so it's going to be a tough year until that happens. So I think there's nothing wrong with you asking that question, Guyver, that are we putting too much focus on Messi? Easily you could say, yes, they're putting too much. All right, what else we got in here? Bruno says Stefanelli's family walked out angry when he got subbed off for Sailor. Not a good look. I would have taken Ruiz off to have more speed for the counterattacks. I'm not a big Stefanelli fan, but then again, I might agree with you. Ruiz is still very, very raw. He didn't do anything. And I didn't know Stefanelli has family here. I didn't know that. Kata's correcting me. Birmingham. I'm not sure what state I said or city I said, but yes, Birmingham Legion. Bruno also feels that Cincinnati's cup to lose. Let's look at the supporters. Where's everybody? So, yep, they're number one in the supporters club. And it is so amazing to think Cincinnati was that 3 or 4 year in a row wooden spoon winner. Worst team in MLS for several years. The joke of the league, when we came into this league and we were bad, we used to say, well, at least we're not Cincinnati. Cincinnati got it together. They brought in a quality MLS coach, Pat Noonan. It was his first head coaching gig, but knows the league, played in the league, was very successful in the league, and then was assistant coach under Jeff Curtin, Jim Curtin. So Jay LaRosa feels like it sucks for Stefanelli. I feel Stefanelli with Martinez and Kremoski was going to be a good start up front, but with that red card, you never know. Yep, red card, hamstrung, everything. But hey, at the end of the day, they hung in really, really well. And you got to be proud for that. So let's see what they could do. Now this weekend they've got to travel up to New England. New England's been solid this year. They are currently in, I think, 4th place in the East, 6th place overall in the Supporters Shield. Still a very good team. So it is going to be a tough weekend. We are possibly looking at loss number 2 for Javier Morales. What can he do this week with this team? Can he somehow reinvigorate these players? Can he plug in the right players? Because maybe that's what it is. Maybe we have good players. Henderson feels like we've got good enough players to be competitive in this league. He said that. We have good enough players to be competitive in this league. So is it finding the right mix? Shaking up that gumbo and stirring that pot and finding a new mixture of players? Is it Pizarro coming back? Is he the key? Does he have an opportunity to be the hero? I mean, he does have the opportunity. Anyways, it should be a fun week. Lots to watch for. Best of luck to Javier Morales and Miami as they travel up to New England. I will see you guys next week. I'm this week going on a cruise. I will be out in the middle of the ocean, and so I unfortunately won't be able to watch that Birmingham Legion game. So hopefully they win that game as well. Let's keep the U.S. Open Cup hopes alive. And Bruno's talking about formations and wingers and all that kind of stuff. Exactly. That's what Javier Morales needs to work with and play around with. But anyways, all right, we're going to wrap it up. Thanks so much, guys, for all your help in the chat. You were awesome. You gave me lots of things to talk about, lots of fun. It's nothing without you guys that are here with us every Sunday evening. So thank you for spending your time with us and having a little fun talking about our club. So thanks, everybody, for watching. If you have not subscribed, what the hell are you waiting for? Please subscribe. Hit that bell so you get notified when we go live. If we find out some point that we signed Messi or something like that, we're going to go live, right? So hit that bell button. And also, please support our sponsor, and that's Canesor. So, everybody, thanks so much for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe. Tell a friend. And we'll see you next week. Thanks, everybody.